Hi there, Serial Trader here. Let's have a look at BABA as it hasn't quite cooperated with the interpretation up to this point. So the labeling of it being a one up and then having a two down to make a higher low and then coming up in a third year, that's off the table at this point. So I'll just go ahead and delete these labels for now. But if we, and I'll get rid of that Fibonacci there. But if we go out to, let's go the 4 hour maybe. So if we go the 4 hour, this still very much looks like a corrective three-way move down. Now, it's developed a little bit more complexly at this point than an ABC, but a three-way move down nonetheless. I think at this point it would be better labeled as a double zigzag. So I'll go ahead and put in the WXY labeling scheme here, and let me just bump this up to a minor degree at least. It looks a little better, and I'll get rid of that Fibonacci relationship between W and Y, as we've gone a little bit beyond that 100% relationship. The next most common relationship would be 1.618, which would be more like a third wave, but that seems a little far down at this point. And it hasn't behaved on the break of that support level as you would expect at this point if it was a third wave in development. It should really just break through the bottom of this channel and come down strongly to come down to this 1618 or deeper for a third wave, and it didn't do that today. So if you look at this longer term outlook here, we've had massive support just around the low 160s here. We actually broke this marginally today. This low was 164.26. Today, intraday, we went as low as 162.30, but we actually closed at 164.23. So still holding up here, although certainly kind of having a false breakout by the looks of it, which flushes out all the stops, including mine. But overall, as long as we don't really break out of this channel, I'm still pretty comfortable labeling this as a corrective three-wave decline, although not quite the same interpretation as originally thought, but three-wave decline nonetheless. So if we just go a little closer now, maybe the daily chart would be good, just to highlight something here. So on the daily chart, we actually do have a bullish divergence now. And so bullish divergence on the MACD moving averages. Small, although still a bullish divergence on RSI. Lower low in price, but higher low in the technicals here. So that's definitely indicative of a significant bottom rather soon, if not already today. And if we look at volume, so volume's higher today than it had been in the last let's say, well, let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trading sessions. So roughly the last couple weeks were the trading sessions, and the only time volume was higher than was prior to that was on the that big day we had on earnings, and obviously earnings brings larger than normal volume. But what I do like to see is kind of a false break of support and then a volume spike. That tells me there's a lot of buying of the dip going on. What would be more concerning is if you if you broke down, closed outside of this channel. That's another thing. We didn't close outside of the channel. We still closed within the channel, rejecting it as a support there. It'd be more concerning if you broke down and then you just drifted down on lower volume, say to the 1618. That'd be more concerning. But now that volume's picking up at this critical level, I still like the upside here. Although it's certainly been uncooperative with trying to, pick a great entry so far. So I did get stopped out from the stop that I showed yesterday, which was at 165 and change there. I believe it was just below this low here. Yeah, it was 165.39, so I think the stop was 165.38. But then when I saw, okay, so at that point I didn't immediately buy back in. It said, well, let's see if it really breaks down out of this channel and really takes off at the downside. But it didn't do that. So when I started to see it finding support, certainly towards the end of the day, I re-entered the stock position. I didn't make any changes to the option position at this point since it is a call spread. I can give that a little more wiggle room since the short calls partially offset the losses on the long calls, right? And they're also long dated, December expiration, so nothing critical at this point to worry about. So yeah, back in, and now the new stop. Well, below the low of the day, I suppose if you want to have a stop. I'm not currently using a stop, and the reason for that, if I go to this hourly chart, so hourly RSI here, you can see got down into the teens, okay, around 17 or 14 or 15 at the lowest part. Well, let's have a look if I can pinpoint it. Yeah, 15.4 I think was the lowest hourly RSI, so that's extremely low. And then we did start to actually see some bullish action right at the end of the day on the last hourly bar here. And if I go in closer, was it a little hourly bullish engulfing? Not quite, but certainly bucking this at least very short-term downtrend there. And at the end of the day is usually when institutions put on their positions, so I kind of like to see that. But yeah, if you just zoom out here, so these extremely low hourly RSI readings, well, that was a pretty good low area in here. It went a little lower in price and had a bullish divergence, but you can see it led to a pretty good move up. Here was a good hourly oversold RSI, had a huge move off of that. Over here, well, first you had some divergence. You actually went lower in price, even though RSI didn't. But then again, it eventually led to a pretty significant move up, as you did here. Oversold, then up nicely, and then over here got oversold, had a bullish divergence, lower low, and then up nicely. So this is at least a good short-term entry at this point, and I do still like the overall structure. So going back to that daily chart, this chart still looks bullish. Okay, having just a marginal false break of support, that's just a stop running move. By the looks of it at this point. If you broke support and then really started spilling down, of course you wouldn't want to be trying to catch that, but the fact that it only broke support marginally and then seemed to be holding it, you know, going up to the close there, that looks more promising here for the bull case. So back in, still riding this thing. It's definitely not making it easy, but sometimes these things aren't easy. Let's go with the candlestick chart here. And yeah, you can just see pretty clearly we closed within the channel here. We actually had a gap down. That could be an exhaustion gap, kind of the final gap down before the trend reversal. So that's kind of nice to see a gap down and then high volume and a bit of a long lower shadow on the candlestick, closing within the side of the channel. False break of support. And when I say false break of support, I'm kind of referring more so to this longer term support shelf here. So still largely respecting that on a closing basis. And okay, just even on this oscillator here, you can see a bullish divergence. So if I just get out the tool, so a higher low on the oscillator, but obviously a lower low in price. So definitely liking that for bottoming action. So yeah, hopefully Baba finds some legs here. I know the overall Chinese internet space has been under some pressure. It's all, you know, largely oversold as a sector at this point, as is the Chinese markets in general. And I think this is a pretty good opportunity still, despite some short-term difficulty here. All right, we'll check in again as price warrants it. Serial Trader signing off.